an upstairs guy. This is look, Jeff here is an old buddy of mine. We worked together for a long time, and he runs the show. And the pilot though was written by another mutual, really close friend of mine, but a mutual friend of mine, Jeff's. Greg Malins and I wrote the pilot together, and we always used to bullshit with each other because he grew up and went right from high school. I think he may have graduated or may not have graduated from high school, and came out here to become a comedy writer at 18, and kind of screwed around and lived paycheck to paycheck, and got to the same place. He ended up running. He ran Will and Grace for a year. Right? Didn't he run Friends for a year?
Yeah, that's right.
And and so he was always, the downstairs guy. And I grew up in Connecticut, and it was high school, college. Thought I was going to go straight into business. It was all about, with my parents, having a gig and going, making sure that you were, immediately progressing forward now. And we'd always just cracked us up that we kind of both ended up being the same screw-ups and ended up in the same place. And we always got twisted about this idea of whether it's more important to have fun now, at the time in your 20s, knowing that you might have to pay for that if you're not lucky and find yourself on a show like Friends later, or if it's important to work your butt off and maybe miss out on lots of things, but hopefully when you're 40 or 45, have the wherewithal to go on trips with your family and enjoy your life. And it just became the show. We both have lots of roots, family. I have lots of family from rural Florida. Greg has family from Seattle. By the way, Jeff's slowly dying. Don't want to get to it.
Ask me a question. I have 10 minutes to live. I probably should start first.
But one of the things that we think is that sometimes TV is so elitist, that people do the joke of oh, this is a waiter or a waitress or someone that works hourly wages and stuff. And the truth is that my cousin who manages the Fridays in DeLand, Florida, which is where Stetson College is outside of Daytona Beach, and she's killing it, loves it, has a good gig, has health insurance, and is not sitting around going, man, I wish I could have some other kind of life experience. So we just wanted to make sure that we kind of not only did the difference, but portrayed it hopefully with some dignity. Well, it's reason number one. It's why Jeff Astrof's here. Is this guy has done, how many episodes of multi-camera have you done?
Said like 400. It's really like now. I think I started the honeymoons, and it's like no, we did it differently on Lucy. We did that joke. This is my 23rd year, and they were very nice about it when they write about me as comedy veteran, like it's me and Carl Reiner. And I love multi-camera, and I've always, every year I'm like, I'm going to go with a single camera, and part of it is that I have such short attention span that I can't sit on stage all day with a single camera, but also I like the show, I like the play, I like the action of it, and like live feedback, and it's very dynamic. Every week you start again, it's new, it's shot in order, you'll see it, it's a play, and this school, the reason I love this show, like I saw the show right away, and it was about something. The characters were very, very strong. The acting was great, and it was like I see every week like how I can do this. And for me, I really grew up on Friends. Like that was the show Bill and I worked on together, and I got that I was really indoctrinated. That was my first big show that I worked on. And I really saw, and my idea was always through those guys, through Bright Kaplan and Crane, was write arcs and seasons. And I saw this thing when Bill showed me the pilot. I said, okay, this is a love story. And then when I got here and I talked and I met the cast, I said, okay, this is actually a three-way love story. And it's a three-way love story between the boy and the girl, and the boy and his boss. And I said, and I talked to Bill about it, and I said right away, over the course of these 10 episodes, this is where I want to end. This is where I want the love story to go, and this is where I want the business story to go, and what do you think? And Bill said, yeah, that's yours, go ahead, do it.
And I'll tell you the other part of your question too. I started multi-camera, Spin City, I loved it, and I have 3 kids, and the amazing thing to me is that aside from CBS, most of the networks continue to pump single camera comedies on a television, and I like them, but with the hopes of attracting a young demographic, and my kids love TV, and they spend all of their free time watching multi-camera shows, both on Nickelodeon, both on the Disney Channel, as well as old multi-cam shows. The most embarrassing moment for me, by the way, it drove this home. My wife was on Scrubs with me, someone came up to us when we were on vacation, and they said, you know, you're on our favorite show, and I was like beaming with pride. You know? I'm like, well, you know, I'm actually the writer of that show. Like, you write the Drew Carey show? This show was over like 15 years ago. But it's the multi-camera shows, you know, once you get out of New York and LA, I still love them. If you're not trying to be overly hip and you're just really doing kind of, you know, Raymond and Cheers and the ones I grew up on, you know, a great radio play, I love it. I'm doing another one for NBC as we speak. I'll do them to the end of time. It's so fun. Greg and I obsessed about it, you know what I mean? It's, and one of the things that you'll see as this series goes on, Jeff and the gang made the character a little bit, you know, and it's because, you know, we're doing one sitcom very intentionally in Detroit, you know, because it's such an underdog city, and this one is San Francisco, because in San Francisco, the great thing about it is not only is it a financial town, it's not New York or LA, okay, big financial industries because of the tech industry, and there's a lot of cash there, but it is also one of the ultimate cities that has a divisive line between have and have not. Okay, San Francisco right now is too expensive for the people on the ground floor to even live in the city themselves. They would have to live right on the outskirts, you know, and get in there, you know, traveling. And we joke about it in a couple episodes of how they get to and from work. And I like that, you know what I mean, that it just shows the class distinction immediately, and kind of the collision of the worlds. And it's a city that not a lot of people have written about. So
That's pretty.
For us, calling the show Top Floor, do you know what I mean?
Shows bias.
Yeah, shows a little bias. Ground Floor to me has a bit of a double meaning, you know what I mean? Not to be too much subtext, but to get in on the ground floor of something, you know, the start of a relationship, start of friendships, you know, we kind of like that aspect, and it's, you know, if we see this show through Brody, through Skylar Astin's eyes, you know, ultimately for me, you know, that's what's coming into his life with the pilot. So I can make anything have a reason if it sounds good. As long as the title's not Cougar Town, right? I'm good. It's the worst title of all time. One of the things I've said that was really interesting about this show, and it's kind of a creative attitude of TBS, that they partner up with you, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. When you go through the network process, there's a tremendous, unless someone's a huge star, there's a tremendous amount of hoops and barriers they have to jump through and over. And this is the first show I've ever done that there was barely a casting process. And all I mean by that is we said, we think Skylar Astin is the type of guy that would play the lead. Like, all right, let's get Skylar Astin. We think the boss character is based on John McGinley. All right, let's get John McGinley. You know, Brody Heelan worked on Cougar Town, and I think she's this person. Said, all right, let's get Brody. And then we said, we had found this really interesting oddball alternative stand-up comic named Rory Scovel, who I thought would kill in front of an audience, and he should be Harvard. And they said, we have no idea who that human being is, but you can videotape him doing a scene. You don't have to do casting if we like it. So we brought him over to our office and taped him doing a scene, and they just cast him. And so that was the casting experience. And the other roles, simply because we didn't have prototypes, you know, we auditioned people. But man, it was a funky way to do it.
I don't know, I like different flavor, and also I'll tell you another little thing about the show that we do. If you look at all those posts, the different words, every episode, the one if you're looking at the stage, the one on the far left, tells you what the Mansfield character is going through, and it changes every episode. So when you're watching the episode,
it's a cool Easter egg.
Yeah, it's a cool little Easter egg, and also it makes Mr. McGinley think that every episode's about him. So,
Is that scary?
Yes, and because I'm scared of him. What else do you want? But I always say, if you don't know what you're playing, just look at that sign there. So it's a cool, like, I like doing stuff like this, like having stuff like Fuho, having you know, these little signs in the show, because I just want to develop a whole world. I mean, again, you know, just a whole world for these people to live in and embody, and it's very fun.